Okay, I'm going to do exercise 2.4 in chapter 2. The first 2.4 is about identifying inductive and deductive arguments. So we're on number 2. I did number 1 last time. Number 2, here's the argument. Mike must belong to the bartenders and beverage union local 165, since almost every Las Vegas bartender does. Okay, so we have two statements. And all of these, the book doesn't put numbers there, but I'll put the numbers. So statement 1, I won't write the whole statement out, but just enough so we remember it. Mike must belong to the bartenders. So Mike must belong to ... Mike must belong to the bartenders and beverage union local 165 since, so he must belong to that union since 2. And since tells you that 2 is going to be a premise. Since almost every Las Vegas bartender does. So 1 since 2. So the diagram is going to be, the conclusion is 1, the premise is 2. That's the argument. 1 is the conclusion. Now we want to know whether it's an inductive argument or a deductive argument. The argument is Mike must belong to the union since almost every bartender does. Notice it's almost every. So this is an inductive argument because it's at best probably the case that he will belong to the union since almost every Las Vegas bartender does. This is an inductive argument. If the almost was not there, then it would be deductive. But this is the almost tells you that at best, probably. It's an inductive argument. Okay? Number 3. Either Colonel Mustard. So this is going to start out as an either something or something. So either, it's going to be an either A or B. So either this or that. Either Colonel Mustard. So A is going to refer to Colonel Mustard. I'll just put Mustard. Either Colonel Mustard killed either Colonel Mustard or Reverend Green. So we got 2 people. One of these people killed Professor Blum. Either Colonel Mustard or Reverend Green killed Professor Plum. Okay, that's one premise. The second premise, I'll put killed Professor Plum, P-L-U-M. That's the first premise. The second premise is, but whoever ran off with Mrs. White did not kill the professor. So I'll just put Mrs. Wright. Whoever ran off with Mrs. Wright, okay, whoever ran off, did not kill the professor. That's the second. And the third premise is Reverend Green ran off. So this guy here ran off with Mrs. White. So Green ran off with Mrs. White. I'll just put White. So we know that either A or B killed Plum. Whoever killed Plum ran off with Mrs. White. Did not, what does it say? Whoever ran off with Mrs. White did not kill Plum. Okay, so either A or B killed Professor Plum. The person who ran off with Mrs. White did not kill Plum. So Green, we know Green did not kill Plum because he ran off with Mrs. White. We know that A or B killed Professor Plum, so it has to be A, and that's Colonel Mustard. Okay, so this is it has to be. If the premises are correct, the conclusion has to be the case. So this is a deductive argument. Deductive. The conclusion is statement 4. Colonel Mustard killed Plum. So Mustard killed Plum. So 4, because of let's see here. I guess 1 plus 2 plus 3. 1 plus 2 plus 3. If you take all these pieces of, if premise 1, premise 2, and premise 3, put all those together, and they go down to 4. And none of these are a reason for the other one. So 1 plus 2 plus 3 down to 4. That's how you diagram it. And that's a deductive argument. It's deductive because if these are true, that has to be the case. Totally logical. Okay. So I'll do a few more of these. This is exercise 2-4. And, you should do it at home, you should do enough of these. Like for this one, exercise 2-4, 1, 4, 7, and 10, the answer is given in the back of the book. So when you're diagramming these arguments, if you're getting them right, you don't have to keep doing them. I mean, just make sure you're getting them right. Okay, now, well, let me do one more. We'll do one more. Let's do number 8. This only has 2 premises. The figure he drew had only 3 sides. So he drew a figure, and the figure he drew had only 3 sides. That's the first premise. The second, well, it's the first statement. The second statement is, so it wasn't a square. It wasn't a square. Only 2 premises. Okay, this is, the conclusion is 2. It wasn't a square. Whatever he drew was not a square because it only had 3 sides. So this one only had 3 sides. Therefore, it wasn't a square. Actually, this is a deductive argument because if this is true, that has to be true. If it only had 3 sides, it's not a square because squares have 4 sides. So the missing premise, I'll say, would be 1. Well, you would put a square has 4 sides. That would be a premise because a square has 4 sides. What he drew had only 3 sides, but a square has 4 sides. Therefore, if you put those 2 together, I'm going to put it over here, put those 2 together, the conclusion follows. It wasn't a square. Okay, that's all I'm going to do with that. That's exercise 2-4. So if you're getting the diagrams right, you don't have to worry about it. But if you're not getting them right, you practice, do some of the exercises. Exercise 2-5 has to do with exercise 2-5 on page 51 has to do with identifying 2 types of arguments. The book IBE, book calls an argument IBE. That's inference to the best explanation. Inference to the best explanation. That's what that's called what C.S. Peirce called abduction. So this is when you're trying to come up with an explanation. The book refers to them as IBEs. So just remember that, or write that down in your notes. And B is going to, this is A. They give 3 answers. Identify each of the following arguments as either IBE, inference to the best explanation. B, balance of consideration arguments. Balance of consideration. Balance of consideration arguments is at best, these are at best probably true. So these are forms of inductive arguments. Your book calls anything that, your book says that anything that's not a deductive argument is inductive. Okay, we'll go with that. And there are different types of inductive arguments. Normally what people mean by, the way the book uses induction is to see basically as a generalization. You generalize about some sample. Balance of consideration argument can be a combination of inductive and deductive arguments. Balance of consideration arguments is when you trying to decide what to do or what you ought to do, and you think of all the different reasons for and against, and you have to make a choice based upon all the different reasons. Like let's say you're trying to decide whether you should take an algebra course. in the next quarter. So you think of the reasons for and the reasons why you shouldn't. So let's say one reason why you should take the course Algebra 1, say Algebra 1, or let's say Algebra 2, is because you've taken Algebra 1, you did pretty good in it. You like math. Okay, these are reasons. But let's say it meets at a time, it's not one of the best times for you, but you can still make it. So you have to take that into consideration. Let's say you have to take either Algebra 2 or an economics course. Let's say you hate economics, so you've got to take one or the other, A or B. You've got to take Algebra 2 or economics. You hate economics, so that's the reason not to take economics. You like mathematics, but it meets at a, not the best time. You can make it to the class. So basically, these are considerations you have to think about, and then you have to make up your mind what you're going to do. So these are balance of consideration arguments. So that's what exercise 2.5 is about. We've got to identify the argument as either IBE or balance of consideration argument, or A is or neither. So it's going to be A, B, or C is going to be neither. So balance of consideration. Okay. IBE, inference to the best explanation, balance of considerations, or neither. Okay, so let's do a couple of these. Exercise 2.5. Argument 1. Let's go now. I know you wanted to work in the yard, but if we wait longer, we won't make the movie. Plus, it's going to get cold if we don't make tracks. So I'll number the statements. Whenever you do these, you should number the statements. Your book doesn't number them, so you have to do that. And then we'll diagram it after we number it. So, okay, so this is exercise 2.5. So number statement 1. I won't do the whole thing. I'll just do enough. Let's go. Let's go now. So that's a very short one. Second statement is, I know you wanted to work in the yard, but if we wait longer, we won't make the movie. Statement 2 is, you wanted to work in the yard, so you want to work in the yard. That's a reason not to go, because the person they don't want to go. They want to work in the yard. But it says, but if we wait longer, we won't make the movie. So if we wait longer, we won't make the movie. Won't make the movie. Okay, now they've got to decide whether to go now, or whether this person has to decide whether to go or not to go. He doesn't want to go because he wants to work in the yard, but if he doesn't, he also wants to go to the movie. And if they wait longer, then they'll miss the movie. Plus, it's going to get cold if we don't make tracks, if we don't get going soon. So it's going to get cold if we don't go soon, if we don't go, now or soon. So should this person go? I mean, the argument is this person is saying, let's go. That's the conclusion. The conclusion is 1, let's go. One reason not to go would be 2. If it's 2 is against it, it goes against it. So you put these lines in it, the line. So 2 is actually a reason not to do 1, but there's 2 reasons to do 1. It's because of reason 3 and 4. These are 2 reasons. So that's how you diagram it. The conclusion is 1, and the reasons are 3 and 4, and 2 is a reason not to do it. Okay, that's all I'm going to do for now, and I'll continue. I'll make another video to do some of this. But anyway, I'm going over these. If you're having problems, it's very important to listen to these lectures. If you look at, definitely listen to them, and if you understand it, that's fine. That's great. So keep up the reading. Okay, so that's all for now.